Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. This episode, we've got a special treat for you. As we close our annual Meet the Nominees special, we have one more great discussion for you from our Movies for Television and Mini-Series Symposium. Like the Feature Film Symposium, the annual event is a roundtable discussion with the directors nominated for the Guild's Award for Outstanding Directorial Achievement in Movies for TV and Miniseries. On January 31st, Kyra Sedgwick, the director of Story of a Girl, and Jean-Marc Vallee, the director of Big Little Lies, joined moderator Mike Robe at the DGA Theater in Los Angeles to discuss the making of their projects. Nominees Scott Frank, the director of Godless, Barry Levinson, the director of The Wizard of Lies, and George C. Wolfe, the director of The Immortal Life of Henrietta, were not available to participate. So please enjoy our Meet the Nominees Movies for Television and Miniseries special, and listen to the nominees take you through the challenges and triumphs of their productions. Highlights include Jean-Marc Vallee speaking about his behemoth 90-day schedule for Big Little Lies, and Kyra Sedgwick on the necessity of making a small story with large ramifications feel nuanced.
Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for coming this evening. These are just 5 terrific films that should be a real marker for how much the long-form television has advanced over the years. As Betty mentioned, I think the first television movie was clocked as 1961. See How They Run, directed by David Lowell Rich. And over the years, those of us who do long form have suffered some abuse a little bit. I can recall a time when the worst thing you could hear or read in one of your reviews was, it just plays just like a movie of the week. And you know, we have really come a long ways. I think now I don't do television is about as passé as I don't wear white shoes after Labor Day. These films are terrific, and these 2 filmmakers who can be with us tonight are just artists in every sense of the word. Their work is stunning. Apologies for, I'm just trying to think, George is doing a play in New York, and Barry, and who am I forgetting?
Scott.
And Scott are also busy, but we're so fortunate to have Kyra Sedgwick and Jean-Marc Vallee. So I think I want to start by suggesting that if you were trying to explain to a 5-year-old what directors do, probably the most accurate and quickest answer would be directors make decisions. And I sometimes think that the hardest decision of all just might be the first one, which is, why do I want to take this film on in the first place? What is it about this film that speaks to me that I'm going to say yes? So let's start with Kyra. How did Story of a Girl come into your life? What made you say yes?
I actually bought the book, Story of a Girl, in 2007, and hired a female writer-director, Lori Collier, to write and direct the film. I was producing it at the time, and I felt like it was the first book I'd read that to me really spoke about how hard it was to be a girl and how hard it was to be a teenage girl in particular. It was vivid, it was deeply emotional, it was incredibly moving, it was funny, she had such a fresh voice. There's so many scenes in the movie that are the dialogue is taken directly from the book. So to me, the book was just a powerhouse. And I tried to get it made for 10 years as a producer, and we would take it to places and they would say, we really like like it. It's a really great story, but nothing happens. And I'm like, are you kidding? There's one huge, explosion after another. I mean, to me, that small clip that you guys saw in the kitchen, I mean, these are the moments we remember growing up as children. I mean, I know I do, those moments where the shit hits the fan and it's a ripple, but its impact is profound. And so for me, this movie had to be made. And we, for 10 years tried to get it made. And by the time it came time to make it, I was ready to direct, which was a wonderful gift for me. And so it's been a passion project. I hate that word. Oh, God. Forever, So that's why I said yes.
The silence, was very powerful in the clip.
Thank you.
And Mr. Vallee, how did Big Little Lies come your way, and what made you say yes?
Beautiful story, the book, and I've worked with Reese before and Bruna Papandrea, the producer, on Wild, and I loved both of them. We had an amazing experience, and Reese came back with Nicole. Was another reason why, when you have the two of them, why don't you do that with us, Jean-Marc, and I don't know, let me think about it, girls, and so I read the book, and then I read the first two scripts that David E. Kelly wrote, and I went, oh my God, this is so good. And the funny thing is, I already signed with for directing Sharp Objects before doing Big Little Lies, so I came back to Reese and Nicole and David saying, I like it. I'd like to do this, but I'm going to direct. I signed, for directing all the 8 episodes of Sharp Objects, so I don't think I can do the whole thing. They wanted me to do the whole thing. I said, why don't I do the first one or the first 2, and they said, all right. So and then started the prep, But to answer your question, it's the material. It's like she responded to the book, and it got so many great great characters. The emotion was on the page. I laughed out loud when I was reading. I was emotional. I was almost crying, and it was tough. But yet I could see myself, putting a year or 2 of my life serving this, and it's always about that. You choose your film, you choose your life, and you choose.
It is important. You live with it. It does become your life. So now, both of these films were based on novels. I'm curious. Did you work at all with the authors? Were they a presence in the life of your creation of the film? Did you feel a loyalty to the novels? Did you work with Sarah on that?
Yeah, I mean, Sarah, no, we didn't work with Sarah on the screenplay, but we did send it to her, and we got her stamp of approval. And I think, I think she was very supportive, but we did not involve her in it. And what we added was the social media piece, because what happens in the story, in the book, is that her father opens the car door on this teenage girl when she's giving her boyfriend a blowjob. And we wanted to update it and make it more, more impactful for today, and so we made it that she makes a video with him, and then it goes viral. So nice. That's what that was, yeah.
And I could have sworn, I may be wrong, that I saw Leanne Moriarty at the party. In the end, at the scene that we saw a brief clip of. Is that true? Did she join you for the fiesta?
Was she there as an extra, you mean, as a cameo?
So. Not so much?
She was there. She came in, but I was like, all the girls were there this day, and 10 days in a row, 10 nights in a row, and I hardly remember what happened. It was the craziest shoot of my life, those 2 nights, 2 weeks of shooting nighttime. But she was... David adapted, and he knew already what he was. So when I came in, he knew what he was going to do. David Kelly, and it was amazing, and it was great. So I didn't participate right there at the beginning, but then with David, as I started to work to get involved, I do a pass. I try to put the directorial approach in the script so everybody have a feeling of how I'm going to direct, and try to get a sense of perspectives and point of views, mainly from the main characters. In that case, the 5 ladies, and but it was all David. Must give credit to the man.
Well, it's a tradition on this evening when we meet with the best of our best filmmakers that we kind of break up the discussion into the preparation period for a film, and then we'll talk a little bit about the production phase, and then we'll talk about the post-production experience. And it seems only fitting because that's the schedule of our life when we do a movie. Jean-Marc, I wanted, and I've already touched on this with you, but come on, man. 7 hours, you directed all 7 hours. And by the way, that's not a broadcast hour. That's not 41 minutes and change. That's 7 HBO hours, which are pretty close to an hour. So how in the world, how do you approach the prep of 7 hours of filmmaking? That's a lot.
That's a lot. It was a 90-day schedule, and with an amazing
90-day schedule.
90-day schedule, amazing team.
Dear
and
God.
we started to approach it. It was like for the first 2 weeks of prep, I was just directing the first 2, so I was. You guys figure out, the rest, and then they convinced me, and I went, all right, yeah, I'll be able to do 2 series back to back, doing everything, and but you prep and we prepped this like a feature film, a long feature film, 7-hour feature film, and we did the same with the post production. So we prepped, we shot, we didn't cut anything, and we started to edit once we were done shooting. And
so you shot the straight 90 days. You never stopped. You never broke off to cut or anything.
We shot 5 days a week. We prepped 1, 2, 3. As a feature, and then we stopped 2 weeks working on 4 and 5. Then we shot 4 and 5, and then stopped for a week or 4 or 5 days plus the weekend, and then we shot 6 and 7. So we had a little break between like these 3 blocks, but they were shot like almost in like 3 separate feature films that are. I mean, one big one with 3 parts. And
did the breaks involve more location scouting and more casting?
So it wasn't really a break. It was like working on the script and prepping the scripts, and then location scout and finding and doing some casting with David Rubin and finding the characters, the actors for.
I hope you had Red Bull in your contract.
I don't, but I got good tea.
Pass that on to your agent. Well, that's just amazing. And so, did you have everything when you started shooting, apart from breaking a couple of? Did you have to? Was it all together when you for example for the first 3 episodes you had all the locations picked? There was no casting to do while you were shooting that sort of thing.
No. We didn't have anything. Everything. We had like when we started to shoot, 4 and 5 weren't finished. So 1, 2, 3 were finished.
The scripts.
The scripts.
Finished.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then as we were shooting 1, 2, 3. David was rewriting 4 and 5. Then we had a break, and then I was working after that on 4 and 5, and so on. And since we didn't have all of the scripts, so casting wasn't completed. So it was an evolving process, and we did it one day at a time with a great crew and really an amazing crew around me. David Tickerton, my first AD, and Greg and Barbara Hall and Greg Feinberg. They know the name of the game. I was so well supported to do this, and shooting in LA and transforming LA into Monterey. We shot only 3 weeks in Monterey with the ocean over there that is very angry, very visual, very powerful, which is almost like a metaphor for how these 5 women are feeling and getting into and becoming. Almost the 5 women at the end, as powerful as the ocean, as beautiful, as strong, and that's why shooting over there, was important, and they all have a relationship with the ocean. They live near the ocean at different levels, all of them. So it was an amazing shoot, amazing production, and be surrounded with all these great actors also, and being the first audience on the set, always seeing what they're doing. And we're shooting with a DP that is not afraid of not lighting, shooting available light, handheld. So it's very, very great. And the actors, they love it. They can move wherever they want. I asked the crew to get out so we can shoot 360 degrees. So I'm alone with the DP, the focus puller, and sometimes we even ask the boom guy to get out. And the actors only have their mic, so they can use the space, and we shoot the rehearsals. There's, when we start, the blocking and rehearsals are the same. We just start shooting, and then we figure it out, and we get creative, knowing that we're going to cover the scene mainly through the girl's perspective. So when we start shooting, they do some stuff, and then I react to it. Becomes something very. It's a great collaboration between the DP, the actors, myself, even the focus puller, because there's no rehearsal. And this guy is next to me, and I hear him breathe. And it's really, and he's got a responsibility on his shoulder because there's no rehearsal. He's capturing this, and he don't want to mess it up. It's Nicole there, it's Reese, and so we got pressure, but it's a great feeling. It's great pressure. And it's beautiful when it works, and when you see them giving themselves like that in front of the camera and just trying stuff, and they surprised me, and I didn't know they were going to do this. and then I'm behind the cameraman. And since he has an eye closed and I don't, so I'm behind him and I push him and I bring him as if I'm the key grip, pushing the dolly, and so it was an amazing experience.
Well, now, Kyra, okay, this
sounds like you had an awful time.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I'm sorry.
Terrible.
It sounds awful.
Oh man, what do you do for a vacation?
It's so great. It's so great to see you.
Now
so
he's
passionate.
okay. They're here from the lips of a director who's done many films. Here you are now. You've prepped many times for one character. Yes. And here you are now. You're prepping for not just all the characters, but you've got to find 30 locations. You've got to cast a crew. Mm-hmm. Was it instinctual for you because you've been around so many sets, or did you have to kind of learn as you go?
I think it's both for sure. A lot of it was instinctual. I knew I was really surprised at how much I knew and thought I didn't know. But yeah, there was a lot of fake it till you make it. I was very clear about certain things and less clear about others. I always felt like as an actor, even though I had just a piece, that I would always see the whole piece, the whole perspective of the whole show and whatever it was that the writer was trying to say. Because to me, I was just a cog in a wheel of, what a writer was I was serving a writer. So for me, being a director is just about getting a higher and higher perspective, and understanding what are we trying to say with this movie? What are we wanting the audience to be left with? And everything springs from there. All decisions spring from there. So it's whether it's casting or crew or DP or actors and even production design, you want to support that story. So for me, that was very clear.
Now, let's talk a second about then casting, because between casting and location, and finding locations, let's face it, that's and working with props and et cetera, that's 99% of our time, at least in the prep process. You found an absolutely marvelous young actor in the leading role of Deanna, is it? I think it's Deanna. and I think her name is Ryan Shane. Ryan Shane, with an unusual spelling.
Yeah.
How did you find her?
We saw hundreds of girls, and she came in. It was one of those moments where someone just comes in and goes, "Oh, that's my role," And she just she was brilliant. She played the scenes exactly the way I heard them in my head. For me, directing is an understanding of how something should sound. It doesn't mean that you don't force your actors into that music that you hear. But when an actor comes in and they literally say the scene and do the scene exactly how you musically have it in your head, it's pretty profound and incredible. And you could just tell that she was completely overcome with the material, and that it was something that she, whether she lived it herself, she certainly did a great job of making us feel like she did. And she was riveting, and she also was ready on an early take. And, we had a very small budget, and that was very clear that was going to be something that was incredibly important. Casting is 90% of the gig. Absolutely.
How did it feel to be on the other side of the room during those auditions?
Great. Oh my God, are you kidding? It's my favorite thing. First of all, it's my favorite thing to make actors feel comfortable in a room. I mean, that it's all about the performance. If you don't have the performance, you have nothing. So, I love it. I love taking care of my actors. I always, think of them as like me as mom, and just holding them, and creating a safe space for them. And when they came in to audition, I know more than anybody how incredibly vulnerable and difficult that is. It's such a difficult process. And to be able to, make it a comfortable space for an actor is a wonderful thing to do, especially when you know what it's like to walk around in their shoes.
Well, every performance in your film, in both your films really, is just terrific. Of course, there's that slacker, Kevin Bacon. I hope you've reminded him that's the best work of his career in your
Constantly.
film.
Constantly.
And I mean, what has he done really? So...
He did me a solid.
Are you laughing, Kevin?
He did me a solid. And my daughter actually is also in the film.
Sosie.
Sosie.
Is terrific in the film. And your son.
Thank you. My son did the music. It wasn't quite planned this way. It just sort of happened. There they were, so talented. What can I do?
Well, it's a family story. It's great.
Well, so many of us lament being away from our family. You solved that problem in your first picture.
Right? I know. I cheated.
That's terrific. You had casting attached to your picture, Jean-Marc. So I assume when it came to you, Reese and Nicole had developed it. Yeah. And then were they the only two actors at that point when they approached you?
Yes.
So how did it work for casting the remainder of the picture? Were they heavily involved? Not so involved?
They were involved. They were their producer's hat when it was time to wear it, and their actress's hat. And they were involved mainly, to decide on Laura and Zoe Kravitz, Laura Dern, Zoe Kravitz, and Shailene. And we made a list with David Rubin, Nicole, Reese, and Bruna and Per, their partners in their respective production houses, and then. Laura was almost like something like a natural, and everybody agreed. And now it's always then the schedule thing. It's they're all busy. They're in demand. They're great. So was it going to work with Laura? Was it going to work with Zoe? And with so these three were our choices. It was an easy thing. We went, if we have these three, and then it happened. Mm-hmm. So Reese, the two of them were so excited, were so thrilled, and
I counted 83 speaking roles in the production. Wow. I just can't imagine that you had every one of them when you started shooting. No. So that must have involved, I assume, you tell me, a great deal of trust with your casting director?
Yes, David Rubin. Yeah, David Rubin.
Were you looking at tape and your or
that's how
whatever we call it now?
That's how it starts. And so I've worked with him on Wild, on BLL, and on Sharp Objects. And he meets some people, And then he goes, why don't you meet with these 6 or these 4 or these 7 and for every speaking part? And then I go, and then we meet. And I like to be there. It's such an important process. And this is where I get some ideas, also directing ideas. But this is where you get the feeling, and you find the characters, and so. And I'm like her, I like working with actors. I like them. I like what they do, and this is it. Like she was saying, if you don't have performances, you have nothing. It's this is what you want, and so David is very, very, very meticulous, and he's very good. He's got instinct, and I trust him a lot. And he introduced me to all these wonderful actors.
Well, so now let's turn to production. So now you're ready to shoot. You're doing an intricate mystery, which you may not even have the outcome of yet, enfolded in a portrait of jealousies and gender politics and dysfunction. I assume that, and maybe I'm wrong, you have to shoot somewhat out of continuity, 83 actors, complicated levels of storytelling. Was it difficult to keep these interrelationships in your head as you shot? Who related to whom and in what way?
I don't think so. It's like, we had 1, 2, 3, as I said.
Yeah.
So we didn't think any further, than 1, 2, 3, episode 1 to 3. So that was it. So, but still, it's 150 pages or so, if not more. And so it's a 3-hour film that you got to prep. You got to. And as we're prepping, we don't have all of the actors, like the Greek chorus, what we call the Greek chorus, all these actors, those actors that are commenting and on what could have happened, who did it, because we don't know who's dead and we don't know who did it. But this mystery, this murder was almost just a pretext to talk about relationship and love, and how is it to raise kids and to have a spouse and your sex life and this and that and the domestic abuse in the series that was the tough thing. So yeah, it was. That's why we all related to these. It's something that we could relate to, and I guess the audience felt the same too. Got a great response.
Well, you did a marvelous job at it, I must say. And Kyra, one of the things I felt about The Story of a Girl is I think one of the hardest tasks of any director at any level experience is the maintenance of a narrative tone throughout the film. Your picture is stunning, and it's nuanced. There's an absence of cliche. It's not what you think it's going to be. It's so easy to assume it's going to be an expose or something about video shaming, and it's actually the story of that's only the event that kicks off the film. It's a story of recovery and a story of a family's recovery, not just one individual. But you kept the storytelling one voice, and you did it beautifully. And I have to feel like you were new at this. This is your first picture, and the exigencies of production, the light that burns out, the weather. How did there was a tug and pull. How did you resist that and keep your eye on the goal?
Well, to me, the movie had to be nuanced, and it had to have a very delicate touch, because it's a small story, and I didn't want it ever to pretend not to be a small story. But to me, as I said, it has these major, major ramifications, because we all come from a family, and many of us come from families that are, dysfunctional on some level. So for me, I did, obviously prep. You prep within an inch of your life and hope for the best. And then you get there, and the one day that it couldn't rain, the one day where we had everything outside, it was torrential, biblical, rain. And I don't know, I had this calm that happened to me that I don't think I would have as an actor, really, because you're responsible for 125 people, so you better at least pretend that you're calm. But I felt this sense of like somehow it all was going to be fine, and it was. We had to move to a different place, and we had to shoot something different, but it was almost better. I'm very much of the mind that you prep and prep and prep, and then something incredible happened, something you never expected. There were just a few scenes that I thought, I had it all in my head, and I had a real sense of it, and then something was shot, the actors came in, and it was a completely different scene than I had expected. Even though we had rehearsed it, it just had a totally different tone. So I think the production of it is that you trust that your story has everything it needs, and it teaches you how to shoot it, right? And then the day and the moment and what came before and what comes after, will also support how to shoot it and all the mysteries that happen within that day. And I think that if you have a tremendous amount of faith in your actors and also in your piece, the magic can happen, and it can be extraordinary.
I can't touch on tone without thinking about the extraordinary scenes, Jean-Marc, between Nicole and Alexander Skarsgård in your picture. For those of you who, I can't imagine who, but if you haven't seen it, these were tough scenes that were, in a very stirring way, were tough to watch. What starts as eroticism between husband and wife swerves into this vicious abuse, and finally ends in an awareness of how both the violence and her denial contribute to the danger. The scenes were so raw, physically, emotionally. Describe the collaboration on those scenes. I mean, you've talked about the 360-degree approach. Did you, I assume you employ that, and were you able to rehearse these scenes ahead of time? Did you limit the takes? How did you approach such sensitive material?
Since they're talking scenes, so I knew we didn't have to explore into, it was two persons seated in front of a therapist, and the first time, okay, they get into the office. But again, it was the same approach where let's figure it out. Let's shoot the rehearsal. Let's see how it goes, and we'll react to it. And then it was, when it's so powerful, then in the cutting room, it's to just honor it and not cut and use the takes as long as possible. Maybe that's why we feel this way, because we're not trying to cut good performances. We're there on the set, and there's no music, and there's no editing, and then I get emotional, and we get emotional, the crew, and so the therapist was also such a good listener, and she's a very strong actress too, and so they had. We just started to shoot, and I asked Nicole and Alex if they wanted to be first or if they want me to. I ask the actors often, would you like to start? Should I start on you? Would you want me to start on the other? And, then we figure it out. Or sometimes I get an idea and I want to start on someone, but this one, Nicole and Alex wanted to. And Nicole, and we shot the first 3 episodes. So, and in one day we shot all these scenes for episode 1, 2, 3. What was it, 1? Did it start in 1? Maybe it starts in 2 or 3. But we shot. We came twice in that location to shoot all of the scenes in 2 days. So it was for Nicole, and then Alex was there just at the beginning for one scene where they're going for the first time to talk about their problem, and she's protecting him, she's lying, she's in denial, and then he decides to tell the therapist, no, it's not true, and then, whoops, she sees some hope. And we see some hope too, and we're like, maybe this guy is honest. Maybe he does want to change, and I'm sure he did want to change, but it didn't happen. But it was we didn't do a lot of takes because it was so good right there, right at the first rehearsal. First rehearsal became take one, and then we did a take two. And then it was a 2-shot, and I knew I wanted to go tighter later in the scene. And the therapist had more close-ups than Nicole and Alex. Well, not close-ups, but medium shots. And
when it came to these private moments of violence, of abuse between them, how did you block those? Because I mean, there was some serious physical depiction of abuse going on. I mean, Nicole was flying over a couch at one time, and did you have a stunt double? Did she do it? I mean, how does that work? For the very tough one, we had a stunt double, and Nicole wanted to do the others that weren't that that extreme violence. And same thing, crew was getting out, and they could use the space, and we block with a stunt coordinator. Okay, he's gonna do this, and that, and sometimes Alex was trying it on the stunt coordinator, or even on me. I wanted to see I want to do that sometimes. I just, why don't you do it to me? I want to see push me on the wall and see how hard it is and how physically it is for the actor to receive that or to do this, and so it felt messy sometimes, but it feels real because we're shooting the first time, and we tried again not to cut and leave the shots as long as possible. Then when it was very violent, a stunt double was doing the first blocking, the first take. Nicole was watching, and then the stunt double was moving out, and Nicole was doing what the girl just did. It's interesting that we have two great directors sitting here, one very experienced and one a newcomer, with a singular artistic triumph so far. How did you go about? You have to cast a crew. You have to find a DP. Jean-Marc has relationships with all of these people he's worked with in the past. How did you go about finding your team?
Ross Katz was my executive producer, and Ross has done many, many films as a producer. He did Lost in Translation and a couple of other Sofia Coppola movies, and also has directed Taking Chance, and a few things. And I was lucky enough to, he's kind of a friend, but he also loved the script, and he was my executive producer, and he has a relationship with Alar Cavolo, who's done many. I mean, I don't even want to speculate how many films, but it's been a lot. And he had sent it to him and not told me that he'd sent it to him. And then he came to me and he said, Alar loves your film and he really wants to do it. And I don't think I really understood at the time what a coup that was. He's an extraordinary partner in every way. He is the loveliest man that you ever want to meet, and so supportive of my vision, and so clear about why he wanted to do the film. I mean, he turned down a $100 million action movie to do mine, and he also was the kind of person who would go out on the weekends and location scout on his own. So he found some great places for us to shoot. So having him as my right hand was an extraordinary gift. And I had some great producers who were locals in Canada. who were the, on the ground producers, and they were extraordinary. And we massed a really green but incredibly excited and optimistic crew who wanted to work their asses off, and they did. And I was very much of the mind of wanting to have the department heads be women, and we were able to do that. Apparently in Canada, it's hard for art directors to move up, especially for women. Actually, they couldn't remember an art director that was able to make that transition. And this incredible woman, Cheryl Marion, came in, and she did an incredible pitch and had a book and pictures and a whole idea for me when I came in to meet with her. And I thought, well, why hasn't this happened before? And this needs to happen now. So she has had a lot of relationships with people and houses that she could go to for, a wall or a couch or, anything that we needed. So that was incredible. I've produced a lot, and I really feel like I understand what it means to get a crew that's going to work cohesively, and what it means to communicate with a crew. Even as an actor, I feel like a crew has always been an intrinsic part of the way I work. I have to feel like we're all in it together. I have to feel those legions behind me. So I worked hard as a producer always to crew up that way as well. And I think that it is so much, and I'm sure you would agree, that so much is a part of the director's job to communicate our vision to everyone so that we're all making the same movie, So I think that I had a great listening crew.
Except for those Canadians.
I love Canadians. Love them.
Freaking Canadians.
Before we... Let's jump to the final act in the trilogy, the post-production process. I wanted to ask you, Kyra, I was thinking as a first-time director, I'm thinking back to my first time. I have to ask you, when you went in and saw the editors' assembly for the first time, I mean, are we talking Valium or barf bags or anything like that? Or how did you feel?
I'm quite sure that this will never happen to me again, but I have to tell you that I enjoyed it.
Oh my God.
I did. I felt like we didn't have a lot of footage. You got to understand. I mean, we got a small budget. We don't have a lot of choices, and I was. I really felt like I didn't want to shoot a ton of coverage. It wasn't my vision. So there was a lot of great things about it. And Sabine Hoffman is a genius. Sabine Hoffman works with Rebecca Miller. She did a movie that I was in called Personal Velocity. She's an extraordinary editor, and she was cutting as we were going. So I knew what I was going to see. I had a sense of, how the scenes were getting cut. So I didn't want to kill myself. No, no drugs involved.
Oh my God!
That came later.
I'm thinking of turning to you, Jean-Marc. We saw a little bit of this amazing closing sequence to the seventh hour, and I'm going to look at my notes a second because it's just you got such an amazing denouement to both the mystery and the character relationships. In less than 10 minutes, after 7 hours on this high wire act, we find out not just who the killer is, but who was killed. You pay off the footprints in the sand to reveal that it was Perry who raped Jane. You'll bear with me on all those names. You show it's Perry who is dead at the bottom of the staircase. Then in the montage, the testimony, the brilliant use of sound and the lack of sound. The women of Monterey are banding together to transcend this experience. You show us Perry's funeral. You intercut Perry's funeral with the women beating him at the staircase, beating him to the ground. Intercut the waves that are crashing, that kind of hammer the turbulence of the moment. As you've alluded to, it's bravura filmmaking. I was totally astounded and amazed by what good work that is. And the question is, was this entirely preconceived on your part, or did you discover it in the cutting room?
Both. There was, I would say, 70-30. 70 was planned, and also David wrote it. Then we pushed it maybe a little bit more on the set with trying some stuff. And then in the cutting room, we found this idea of doing the waves and the beating when Alex Skarsgård's character becomes crazy and starts to beat not only his wife but the other woman who are trying to interfere and help Celeste, Nicole Kidman. This in the cutting room, we had the idea of doing something every 8 frames, every 9 frames between Perry becoming so violent and these women becoming as strong as the ocean. Mm-hmm. And then we tried it, and we built a team of editors. We were 6 at the end. So we were 3. And then as I was seeing, the amount of job that needed to respect the schedule, I asked each of the producers, I think I'm going to need more help and more guys, more guys and girls who were female editors and male editors. And so at the end on episode 7, we were six of us cutting. And on every show, it wasn't like these 2 editors are cutting 3 and these 2 4 and so on. It was everybody was working on one show. So on episode 7, we were 6 to cut 60 minutes. And editor number 1 was cutting page 1 to 10. Editor number 2, page 11 to 20. And then once they were done with one pass, then they were sending it. And then I was challenging them, their first pass. They were doing a second pass, and so on with all the editors. And then once we had everything, we were all of us, the 6 of us, were challenging the work of everyone. So at the end, I was calling them, Eisenstein, who did the Cuirassé Potemkin. So I was calling them Marc Eisenstein, Véronique Eisenstein, and I want you to challenge me. I want you guys to be better than Eisenstein with this scene, better than the staircase scene, where it becomes the impact, the contrast between these shots become you hardly have time to see what's going on. It becomes impressionistic almost, and it's just a guy losing it, and the ocean, and these women getting beaten by him, and everybody. We all worked, the 6 of us, on this. I think it's 9 second. It's a 9-second moment. The ocean, the beating, and Alex going crazy. So it's 9 seconds, and every shot is between 6 frames and 10 frames. So it's not even half a second. So it goes until Zoe Kravitz arrives, and then poof, she pushes Alex, and then we stay on this shot. And we hear the breathing, and then the wave, and then we do the back and forth. And we had so much fun exploring all this different space-time, between the flashback and the present and what's going on the beach and what happened there. So that's why it happened in the cutting room. You had a good instinct to this thing. It was the ideas. The whole thing, and it's just like she was saying also, you start to work and we discover and we learn and we adapt, and until the final moment, even in the mixing room, sometimes we get some ideas and whoops, let's change this song. Let's move it and let's not use this one there. Look, let's try it. And then whoops, it's better.
Well, Kyra, you had your own strong sense of editing. I mean, you can't tell me that was new. You're not a newcomer. That you're an experienced soul in a newcomer's body. I thought your denouement was great. That there's quite a surprise in your film, and I feel like should not give this away, but I'm going to because you should have seen the film by now. When that moment when we discover that Deanna has actually been the instrument of this video getting out, and she was the one who actually inadvertently recorded the moment, and then it got out through some of her girlfriends because she wanted to prove that she wasn't a virgin any longer in high school. But that whole that montage of the young Deanna playing in that yellow coat and through the father's anguish leading to this really strong resolution at the end of the picture. Your sense of editing and pace and tone and rhythm and storytelling was marvelous. And so I kind of want to ask you the same question. Was it discovered, or did you always know that's how you wanted it to be? Or did you discover it in the cutting room to some extent?
I think we were really taken aback by how powerful both things are true. Both they were planned and both they were not planned at all, and they came out of seeing the footage between the little girl and the father, that flashback footage with her and her yellow slicker, as you mentioned, was so powerful. I didn't plan on intercutting that with things that were happening currently, but it seemed powerful and it totally worked. And we tried it, and it was beautiful, and it worked because that's how memory works, right? It's like, we have these flashes, we have just these images, and they're quick and they're fast. So I think it was both. I really think so many things were tried. It's so funny because I almost don't even remember whose idea some things are.
Right,
You think, well, that must have been. Really, this is really a team sport, directing. I gotta say, as an actor, I feel much more alone. And as a director, I'm like, I got all these people. They're gonna help me. They're gonna help me create my vision. When the camera's on me and it's action, that's all me. Honestly, it's the way I feel. It's like the dirty little secret that no one tells you as an actor. But so I feel like so many things happened in the moment, and same thing with me. We were in the mix and something didn't feel right, and we changed something very much musically at the very end of it. So, I think that's the beauty. I think you can keep tweaking and nothing is, it works for that moment. And then you can think of 20 other things but then you have to make a choice ultimately. And then it's only until you screen it and you see people's reaction and you feel the audience breathing as one and laughing as one and crying as one. And then you go, oh, something was done right here, because I feel us all in a theater acting as one organism. And that's really the only time when you go, oh yeah, that was good. That was right.
Well, extraordinary work. Thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this exclusive discussion. You can watch the full video of the Movies for TV and Mini-Series Symposium and of our Meet the Nominees feature film symposium on our website at dga.org/events. Past episodes of The Director's Cut are available wherever you listen to podcasts, and be sure to click subscribe so you won't miss an episode. If you're enjoying the podcast, please take a moment to like, share, and leave us a review. It helps viewers like you find out about the show. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America. Music is by Dan Vallee.